asked to find the derivative of the function f of x is equal to 3x squared plus 8x. And now there's two parts to this question. First, we want to find it at -2, and then the second time we want to find it at 1/2. What's this question actually asking? It's asking us to take this function 3x squared plus 8x. Okay, so I'm just gonna sketch out some. Actually, you know what? Let me pause here. Let me actually grab what the function looks like. Give me 1 second. And through the beauty of video editing, that actually just took 1 second. So what is it asking? Well, it's saying, okay, here's your function right here. Okay, and we want to know the derivative at x sub naught equals -2. So at an x value of -2, there's clearly a point on this graph, and if I draw in the tangent line, what we're looking for is f prime at -2. That's equal to the slope of this line. Okay, that's what we're looking for. So we want to know, what is the slope of this line? It's clearly negative. Okay, but how do we figure that out? There's two ways. One, we can do it the long way. We can find f prime at -2 to be equal to f at -2 plus a little bit minus f at -2 all over a little bit. And we can solve this. And I'm going to do that. We can also use the formula that we just generated in the last video. Now look, what's really going on here? Well, what's going on is we're taking a second point that here's -2, right? Okay, now we're taking another point that's just a little bit over. Okay, so I've got -2, and then I'm going just a little bit over, and that little bit over I'm going is change of x. And so this guy right here is -2 plus the change of x, and this guy here is -2, right? And so this guy down here, this guy right here has a height value of f at -2, whereas this guy down here, this guy has a height value of f at -2 plus delta x. Okay, that's what its height is. And what we're doing is we're sticking a line in between those 2 points. Okay, like that. And we're calculating the slope of this green line right here. But what happens is as delta x becomes super small, the green line and the black line are exactly the same. Okay, so the green line is going to represent the black line as delta x becomes infinitely small. And so what we've done here is we've gotten the value for the black line by using the green line, and that's what's going on right here. Okay, it's so important that you understand that, because the rest of this is just mechanics. That's really the important part. So we'll go ahead and we'll walk through this here. Okay, so my function's up here, and so I need 3 times -2 plus delta x squared plus 8 times -2 plus delta x. That right there is this guy. Okay, that's that guy right there. Now we need to subtract off this guy right here. So that is f at -2, which is 3 times -2 squared plus 8 times -2. Okay. Sorry if that maybe went off the screen just a little bit on you. And then we need to put that over delta x, right? So we go ahead and we do all this algebra. It's a lot of work, and every time we do this, man, I mean, it's time consuming. Later we're going to get a whole bunch of rules just like we did in the last video so that we don't have to do this every time. But let me go ahead and work this out again. So this is going to be 4 minus 4 delta x plus delta x squared minus 16 plus 8 delta x minus, now it's going to be, this is 4, right, because -2 squared is 4 times 3 is 12, so minus 12, and then it's going to be plus, because 8 times 2 is 16, -16 minus a negative is positive 16, and that's over delta x. So we'll multiply things in. That gives me 12 minus 12 delta x plus delta x squared 3 times that, sorry, minus 16 plus 8 delta x minus 12 plus 16 over delta x. Well, what cancels? This 12 and this 12, this 16 and this 16. And so what we're left with here is negative 12 delta x plus 3 delta x's squared plus 8 delta x over delta x. And if we divide everything by delta x, we end up with negative 12 plus 3 delta x plus 8. Now, as delta x up here, remember our conversation about delta x? As delta x becomes really small, this equation becomes negative 12 plus 8. Because the 3 delta x, well, that guy's just going to drop out. Because 3 times a super small number is still super small, so it goes away. And so when we do this out, we get a value of negative 4. And so the slope of this black line is approximately negative 4. Now we can also do the same problem using the, so how do we write this? We say f prime at negative 2 is equal to negative 4, right? Okay, so that's it. I mean, that's not too hard to compute. Now, we just came up with a rule before that said f prime of x, or x naught, is equal to, and let me go ahead and grab that that formula, because typically you don't use quite this formula all the time, but it's equal to 2 times the a value times the x naught value plus the b value. So that would be 2, the a value is 3, the x naught value is negative 2, and our b value, I believe, was 8. So 2 times 3 is 6, times negative 2 is, look at that, negative 12 plus 8. That should look familiar to you over here. And so that's also equal to negative 4. So again, it's telling us that the slope of the black line right here is negative 4. That's the important part. But notice how coming up with some kind of general rule over here saved us a lot of time, whoops, from having to go through all of this work over here. Okay, and by the way, a lot of a chance of making a mistake over here, not too many calculations over here to make a mistake. So for B, I'm going to let you try to do B like this. I think it's valuable and a good use of your time to do that. I'm going to do it the shortcut way here, but if you need to see it done the long way, stop by my office or contact me by email and go ahead and ask. So we're looking for the slope at 1/2. Now let's go over to 1/2. 1/2, guys, is, let's see here, this is negative 2, so these must be by 2, so this is 1, so here's a half. So way up here, the slope is going to be positive, right? So let's go ahead and check that out. That's going to be f prime at positive 1/2 is equal to, now it's going to be 2 times the a value, which we know is 3, times the positive 1/2 plus the b value, which we know is 8. So that's going to be 2 times a half is 1 plus 3, excuse me, times 3 is 3 plus 8. So it tells me the slope of the line up here, this slope right here, guys, is supposed to be 11. And that looks right, okay? So that's how you go ahead and you find the derivative at specific points. And remember, the derivative is the slope of the tangent line.